Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Schmoes Show. We've been gone. Uh, as co-CEOs of this show, we felt that it was, for our own safety, it might be nice to hide for a little bit.
If I may,
Yeah.
CE Schmoes.
God damn! As co-CE Schmoes of the Two Schmoes Show, we were deeply disturbed by the actions taken in New York. And then we went to bed and we didn't really care after that.
How could the police do what they did?
We didn't even talk about that too much during the show prep.
Yeah, I've been struggling with it because this is. I feel like as somebody who's about to permanently etch my words into the history of the internet forever.
Yeah,
it reminds me a bit of how we were over the summer with the assassination attempt of Trump, right? Where I'm not gonna just say I completely support the exact actions that happened on that day, because that would be a good way to put yourself on the federal government's radar and give them, potential unnecessary ammunition if you run into any issues later on. But it is unavoidable seeing the public response to the shooting of the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard.
So,
speaking as a person, I've etched it into myself that I don't think murder's ever okay.
yes.
At the same time, speaking politically, there is something kind of karmatic about it. I'm not saying he deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, but there's definitely a karmatic aspect to it that I'm very uncomfortable with. But at the same time, I think it tells a lot about the political situation in the U.S. and how the response to this has been.
Yep. So I'm going to start here with the just sort of facts of it, right? Because it's been, this is the kind of thing that if we were meeting every week, we probably would have had 3 weeks about completely different aspects of this that we would have gone through.
Yeah.
So let's go just quick background stuff, right? This is just going to rip this straight from Wikipedia, just as a quick one. Brian Thompson, the 50-year-old CEO of the American health insurance company United Healthcare, was shot and killed in Midtown Manhattan on December 4th, 2024. The shooting occurred early in the morning outside of the entrance to the New York Hilton Midtown Hotel. Thompson was in the city to attend an annual investors meeting for United Healthcare's parent company, United Health Group. The suspect, initially described as a white man wearing a mask, fled the scene. The gunman was masked and had come to New York via a bus from Atlanta. The words delay, deny, and depose were written on the spent shell casings and an ejected cartridge, with 3 words being similar to the phrase delay, deny, defend, a well-known phrase in the insurance industry alluding to insurance companies' efforts to not pay out claims. The suspect possibly left the city, being seen at a bus terminal afterwards. Anger erupted on social media platforms at Thompson, the deceased, United Healthcare, the company he worked for, and the health insurance system generally, with many praising the killing. We went on to later find that an individual was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania, based on a tip from an employee working at a McDonald's in the small town. Police arrested the person who they were tipped off about, who was later identified as Luigi Mangione. There remains a ton that we don't know about this. And I think that's part of the fascination in this, is the extent that we don't know about Mangione's personal motivation, but as well the general air of first incompetence by the authorities involved in this investigation, and then very rapidly coming to find his arrest. And the stories that were coming out, particularly from people in positions of authority within the New York Police Department and the New York government, that seemed to be saying completely different things at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I think, in a way, it's a very romantic story if you think about it. You have, a lot of people have criticisms against the U.S. healthcare system. Many of them very earned. And I mean, quite frankly, the highest grossing movie of like the last 10 years was a fucking superhero movie. And like this tale of vigilantism, I can see that be resonating with so many people. You know, it's very
Absolutely.
cathartic for a lot of people. And I think that it doesn't help that Luigi's kind of a charismatic looking person.
Hmm.
Like, have you seen the internet lust for this man?
Oh, absolutely. Dude's
Yeah.
hot.
The dude is objectively a pretty man. And
Hmm.
I find it fascinating. If you go through like his shit, he's smart. I respect the
Yes.
fuck out of his intelligence. Like game recognizes game. One thing, FBI, I know you're listening. What's up? How you doing? I promise you, I'm
It's your
up to-
boy.
it's your boys. I promise you, nothing but respect for what you do. Trust me. Could you get me the login to his Goodreads?
Don't watch any of
account?
the other episodes.
Don't watch any of the other episodes. Could you get me the login to his Goodreads account? Because I know he had one. I'm really curious what he
Yeah.
read. I want to know what this motherfucker was reading.
Well, we do have a little bit of an insight into that.
Well, I know he
pretty
got
sure.
Ted Kaczynski's manifesto. And it's another thing I want to point out. You could tell this guy was a Unabomber fan.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So, like, going around and seeing, like, how much his killing was inspired by the Unabomber is very interesting to me. He's a fanboy through and through. At the same time, it kind of ruins the mystique for me a little bit, but I still want to know what else he was fucking reading. Because there's no way he was just Ted Kaczynski shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, though, that has made this fascinating is how Mangione as a symbol doesn't really fit into the boxes that anyone would want them to, right?
Yeah, yeah.
From the perspective of the people, I would say the media on the right, he committed a brazenly violent act that goes in directly against their usually purported moral stances. And we've seen that come out in the response to this from people like Shapiro, where they were very quick to condemn the act that occurred, as pretty much everybody has, but then after that continued to push back against it, even as their own individual fans came out and were like, nah, dude, you're on the wrong side of this. And we've seen a kind of similar thing from the media and, social media on the left, where there's this initial surge of like, yeah, hell yeah, gut the bastards, kill the rich, eat the rich kind of vibes. And then as it came out, it was like, oh, wait a minute, this guy's just kind of like a dude who probably just like watches Joe Rogan and is absolutely not a liberal.
Oh, no.
It's been very mixed responses from the social medias.
Yeah. Though supposedly also a manifesto did leak, which was it was
Kind of.
Yeah. I don't trust it. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's so brief. I have a hard time calling it actually a manifesto. It's more like for lack of a better word, it's closer to like a suicide note, It's just like I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to try to explain it as best I can. I don't necessarily think I'm right, but I'm going to try to explain it.
Yeah. So, like, it's just interesting, isn't it? Because, like, in a world
It's fascinating.
Where everybody is very polarized to one side or the other, perhaps the most politically charged thing of the year, outside of an electric year, believe it or not, was handled by a guy who is so in the middle. Not like you said, he probably does listen to Joe Rogan. He went to Penn State, I think, right? Wasn't that like a part of this case file?
I don't know. I don't think he did. He went to an Ivy League prep school, but I don't think actually attended like full. Like, what did he do? I'm sure it's on the Wikipedia here.
I'm sure it is too.
Maybe I should just go to like his one.
What I'm saying is Luigi isn't some
Yeah.
kid who, worked at, and I'm not saying this just because he's Italian, but like a pizza place, He's a guy who obviously came from a little bit of money. And
He did go to University of Pennsylvania.
ha! Okay.
Yeah. He went to a private secondary school, which is where the Ivy League part comes in.
I heard
I
a
think.
rumor from a friend.
I heard.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go for it.
I heard a rumor from a friend that our alma mater, the University of Olivet, almost became an Ivy League school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I believe that or
They
not.
can't even keep a pizza place in business. What do they expect to do?
Wait, did Tim shut down?
I think it did. Let me double check. Maybe it was just closed
No.
at weird hours or something.
No, please don't shut down.
No, it's still open.
Thank God.
It must have just been closed for a while. I was driving through that area like 6 months or a year ago. I was like, oh hey, I should get Tim's. And they were just closed at like 4 p.m. It's like, what the hell?
That's not natural. That's not normal.
No. They're listed on Google as being open still, so I assume they still are.
Yeah.
It must have just been a weird thing.
For those wondering, I worked there, so therefore I'm a little attached to the place. Where were we though?
Oh no. So this is an Echo article from last February that says Tim's Pizza closing soon.
No fucking way.
The exact last day for Tim's Pizza has not been decided, but it could be as early as Sunday, February 25th. I'm going to play it by ear and see what happens, said Ramaj. I've never sold a business. I only ever bought a business, so I'm at the back end of this learning curve, but it could be very soon. It could be this weekend. So maybe it was sold and bought to somebody, and it's reopened again. That could be it.
I feel like that makes sense.
It's like, it has such a niche that I can't imagine it's not at least able to keep afloat, you know?
It's the only pizza place right next to a fucking college in a state where weed is legal. How is it? It shouldn't be hard to run that business. Like, that's a little ableist of me to say that, but like, it should have a target demographic.
Yeah, it does say that they had signed a purchase agreement, so it's not like it's just going to sit empty. But it was, at least at the time of this article being published, unknown as to whether it would stay Tim's or if it would, what was going to happen to it. So, but Google has it listed as being open, so
Yeah.
got to check in sometime, I guess. One other aspect with the Mangione shooting that I wanted to touch on briefly that I thought was very interesting. I had seen it pointed out that Spice 8 Rec, who's a Magic the Gathering YouTuber and very open, unabashed anarchist, abolitionist, etc., commented on how his greatest surprise from this was how much this entire situation has shaken the idea of the impenetrable surveillance state.
I feel that. I really do. Because that's how I felt initially by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It made everything feel a lot more tangible than it should. Like, I was always under the impression that there would be journalists covering up, like, not covering up, that's a bad term. There would be an agenda set almost immediately. And that is not what happened at all. I feel like we're seeing it a little bit now that we have the facts, but before they even had a name, it was just fucking the Wild West of journalism. It was amazing.
Well, and you had these statements coming out from people that were in complete conflict with each other. Eric Adams, New York mayor, gave a press conference either the day before or 2 days before the arrest saying that we know the person's name. We're not going to release it because we don't want to tip them off, but we have their name. And then they arrest the guy, and the guy one of the like sheriffs or whatever who was talking after the arrest basically said, we didn't have the guy's name. We didn't know who they were.
Yeah. Wild.
And there's also the fact that
yeah.
apparently one of the only like consequential tips that they had was from one of his relatives who thought they might have recognized him, but it didn't like actually amount to anything. And otherwise, the amount of information being reported on the guy to the police was extremely scant. Way less than you would expect to have in such a high profile killing from a very popular individual. Like, they had the guy's face. Just a fascinating circumstances and everything after that all around.
I mean, I wonder how much resources went into this realistically, like how many cases were dropped to prioritize this one because it was so big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to have all tens of those New York cops poking the bushes in Central Park.
Yeah. And he got pretty far away from New York, all things considered. He made it to fucking Pennsylvania.
He was gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. He was on the run. You know, on the run. He was in Pennsylvania, which is like he just went home, I guess. That's what it kind of seems like. But he easily, if he really wanted to, he could have gotten out of the country.
Yeah.
He could have held up somewhere and just laid low for a few weeks. But he clearly just didn't have the entire thing planned that far out.
No, I think he got further than he intended.
Yeah. He's like, all right, I know where this guy's going to be. I'm going to go kill him. I've got a gun. And we'll see what happens.
And fuck, he made it further. I want to know what he was doing during like that solid week and a half they were looking for him.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it was 5 days. Which is like not a huge amount of time, but in as high profile a situation as this, where you had CCTV footage of a CEO being assassinated circulating within an hour of the attack, and he got 5 days before they were able to catch him. The fact that he got out of the city at all is exceptional.
I think if I was like New York's finest, I'd be a little scared of the fact that he got to Pennsylvania so easily. Because, like, either... Because, I don't know. I keep trying to think of, like, the scenarios he had to do. There's no way he had a getaway vehicle. New York is unreliable for a getaway vehicle.
Yep.
But somehow he
did
did
just got on the bus.
Yeah.
He just got on a bus. That's it.
He just got on a bus. On a heavily surveilled bus. And they couldn't find any footage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I do want to briefly touch on the charges that have been made against him as well, because it's pretty interesting there, and I would be extremely surprised if all of them proceed to trial. The big ones that he has first, so in New York, first-degree murder is only reserved for particularly heinous crimes. There has to be some sort of additional element to the act that just, clear manslaughter type situations don't meet. In this case, they're charging him with first-degree murder, claiming this was in furtherance of an act of terrorism. I remember in the...
Yeah.
I remember in some of the law and news subreddits, there was talk about when he was first initially booked, it was only for second-degree murder, and that made sense because in New York, first-degree murder has this bar that is so much higher to clear that it would make sense for them to just not go for that because it would be difficult and not really worth the time. So the fact that they went out of their way to then go and refile it later to add that additional charge is, it's noteworthy.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the federal charges that were very suddenly and unexpectedly applied, where I believe he was charged with federal murder, presumably because he left the state after, maybe, not quite sure on that one, but then also stalking. And it's just layers on layers where you have all of these elements that are not typical if this crime didn't happen to a CEO.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there is a lot of political motivation to make a example out of him.
Absolutely.
You think Luigi's listening to this in prison? I know he is, but
I hope
do
so.
you think?
I hope he's doing well. There's also going to be the very interesting part of this where I think it's exceedingly slim at this point, but still not zero that maybe this isn't the guy.
Yo, so
There's a lot of
unibrow theory.
the looking right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of looking at the pictures that we had before his arrest that really don't seem to match Mangione.
Yeah.
I think it's probably just as likely weird, bad CCTV type cameras not getting good pictures than the alternative being that, you know, they got the wrong guy. But there's a chance. And his lawyer came out and made the public statements, basically said, we don't believe that they have any evidence that Mangione did these things.
You know, that's the really fucked up part about this whole case. How do you prove it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
presumably they have to have some extra records or something, right? They can very clearly tie the person who did the shooting to a few other very specific instances, actions in the city. And it's going to be at those other places that I think they're going to be able to more conclusively prove identity. And also the fact that he was in possession of the gun is suspect.
Did he have the gun? Like,
he had a gun when he was arrested that matched the description of the one that was used. And regardless of whether that is the gun that was used, some of the charges related just to the illegal possession of a firearm are going to stick regardless. They're pretty clear cut and still felonies.
I heard a theory, and I don't know if I believe this or not because I think it's really stupid, that Luigi is just an actor in all this. That he was perfectly set up to be like the one that they caught.
In the same way that we are seeing in real time the incompetence of the surveillance state and the New York police and the FBI and their handling of this case, I do think it would be a bit unreasonable to try and spin that around and give claim to the other side of this for the intelligence that the law enforcement has clearly lacked, if that makes sense. It's fun to think about, but I think the reality is going to be a lot more boring. Because
reality is often more boring. Like, to all our fans out there who believe in conspiracy theories, when the fuck has C-SPAN ever been that exciting that shit like this happens? Reality is dull as fuck.
Speaking of, have you seen any of the just variety of bullshit being posted, particularly on Reddit and Twitter, with these UFO things?
Oh, the drones?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Not just the drones, but yeah.
Yeah. No,
I wish I could find it. There was a great one that I saw posted that just came up on r/all. It was on r/UFOs last night, where somebody had a video on their phone through a telescope of what they claimed was a definitive video of a UFO, and it's just a blurry halo, a blurry ring of light. And there's a great back and forth in it where somebody starts the thread by saying, people will say that this is just out of focus or bokeh rings, and this is the proof that they're wrong. Don't listen to the shills. And there's a back and forth where you have like somebody who's clearly, full in on it, and other people who aren't, and it ends up in this one piece where the guy says something about how it's like, this is, you know, a clear picture of a UFO, and everybody's just like, no, it's very blurry, you can see that it's blurry. And the guy's like, well, nobody posts the clear videos of the UFOs. The guy's just like, yeah, they don't. What do you know about that? I wonder why. It's almost like they don't exist. And it's been the same thing with the drones. And the drones have been the much more major story going around because it's been happening for a while. And it is inevitably going to be the same thing, right? Where the reality of it is that it's some boring private company partnered with the military doing drone testing or whatever. And they don't want to say because it's technically not public information.
Yeah, confidential bullshit.
But the other side of it is that the vast majority of the people reporting that they are seeing these drones are just wrong. And like, not just like, oh, you saw a drone, but it was just a commercial drone, kind of wrong. Like, dumb wrong.
Oh no.
Where did you see, oh god, who was it? It was a politician out of Pennsylvania, I want to say, where guy unironically posted to, it was this Governor Larry Hogan.
Oh no.
This is from Twitter, I believe, maybe Facebook, I believe Twitter. Last night, beginning at around 9:45 p.m., I personally witnessed and videoed what appeared to be dozens of large drones in the sky around my residence in Davidsonville, Maryland, 25 miles from our nation's capital. I observed the activity for approximately 45 minutes. Like many of those who observe these drones, I do not know if this is increasing activity over our skies as a threat to public safety or national security, but the public is growing increasingly concerned and frustrated with the complete lack of transparency and the dismissive attitude of the federal government. The government has the ability to track these from their point of origin, but has amounted a negligent response. People are rightfully clamoring for answers, but they aren't getting anything. Do you take a guess what he was looking at?
What's he fucking looking at?
The fucking stars.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It was genuinely, it was Orion's belt. He was looking at a constellation and thought it was drones. And then he's backpedaled so hard after people called him out for being the idiot that he is, and been like, oh no, it was a meme, it was a joke. And he's posted like just the shittiest memes to try and sell it the last couple of days. And
dude, okay,
like, you don't say, I joined the growing bipartisan chorus of leaders demanding that the federal government immediately address this issue. That's not a joke. That's you being dumb and not understanding what the fucking stars are.
Okay, so here's the thing I hate about this drone thing, right? Do you know how fucking regulated our skies are? And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking to the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude,
yeah.
Yeah. We could look at Taylor Swift's private jet anytime we wanted, and it was public knowledge because our government knows what's going on in the fucking sky at all time. If these
drones, can I tell you something cool?
Please.
Not only can you do that, you can do it on your browser, on a regular phone app. It's public information. One of the cool things that my dad works in aviation, he was showing me this at the start of the war in Ukraine, is that you could follow U.S. surveillance high-altitude bombers who were doing surveillance activity at the Ukraine border, doing passes in circles at the Ukraine border, looking at Ukraine. And it's all public information. If it's not an actual military, classified operation, even the military's activities are publicly announced and tracked. And you can just look it up online.
Dude, I love our government for that, because it's nice to have that transparency. But it's also like, I know we were just joking about the fucking surveillance state. No, it's in the sky. It's in the fucking sky. If these drones were literally anything the government did not like, they'd be shot down. And full disclosure, drones aren't that strong. Unless you're a private government, If the drones were anything scary, we shoot them down. If they were anything mundane, we probably shouldn't just care about them.
Yep. a lot of it falls into the same bucket as the coverage that has gone around with Mangione, where it is more interesting to think about what it might be than the boring reality of what it likely is. One of the good stories that I saw people telling about this when it was first coming out is like, what if it's government drones sweeping for a dirty bomb in the Capitol? It's like, yeah, that'd be exciting. Maybe Russia slipped a nuke into Washington, but do you really think that they did? Like, does Russia need to do that at this point? They have been beating our asses for the last 12 years just winning on social media. They don't need to launch a nuke. They don't need a dirty bomb. You're tearing yourselves apart.
Dude, the KGB was probably the best investment Russia ever made without fucking realizing the consequences. Like, you give, like, these intelligent mind games to, like, a military, and I'm probably using the wrong term here, but the point it is, social media is literally what the KGB is built to do. And I'm not saying that it is the actual KGB doing it nowadays, but, like, you can transfer a lot of those skills over.
Oh, yeah. And they have. That's why Russia has these troll farms.
Yeah.
And it's, like, not a... That element is very well documented. Like, the Russian government's activities in manipulating social media to destabilize their adversaries is not even a secret at this point. It's just the reality of their government's actions.
Yeah. And you know what? Fuck, it's effective. They know how they're working it, you know?
Something else that I wanted to point up later, but this is a good time to jump into it, that it really hammers home the failing of the Russian government as a military power, which is the kind of thing that you would need to have. If you're smuggling a dirty bomb into a foreign country and they don't know where it is and they're hunting for it, that is a degree of military sophistication that has not existed within the borders of Russia outside of Hollywood. And we got a reminder of that this over the last couple of weeks as the state of Syria, the government of Syria, the Assad regime, a staunch ally of Russia, is no more.
Isn't that wild?
Syrian rebels,
yeah,
over the last couple of weeks have been slowly making moves closer and closer to the capital of Syria. And I don't remember exactly what day it was, but about 2 weeks ago, they officially entered the capital and took it over basically unopposed. The Syrian government and their executives had all fled ahead of time. We know Assad, Bashar al-Assad, and his family fled the country, taking billions of the country's dollars with them, and has been granted asylum in Russia now. And there is very much the open question of what happens next in Syria. This is something that it is fascinating to see come full circle, because we talked so much about this when we were just starting the show. Yeah. The situation on the ground with the civil wars in Syria, as well as the sort of united fight back as ISIS was making major ground in the farmlands of the country. And the political landscape has shifted so drastically since then, where the Syrian military literally doesn't exist anymore. ISIS is there, but is a hollow shell of its former self. And there's like 3, 4, 5 other Syrian rebel groups. You know, you obviously still have the Kurds in the north with Turkey, but many others that are now going to be vying for actual power. And a lot of them are not particularly savory. And we're going to have to wait and see how the power shakes out. But while it is a honeymoon, I think would be a good way of putting it, for Syria right now, where they finally don't have open war in their streets for the first time in over a decade, the looming question of what comes next is still looming. And as we saw in Afghanistan, just because the war stops doesn't mean things get better.
Oh, no. The scary part is there's still a lot of resources for war still there. And, you know, like, there's a lot of power vacuums now. Something's got to go in
Absolutely.
there. Yeah. And, like...
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry. What scares me is, like, Syria was basically like a small Vietnam for us. Like
Hmm.
it's the classic U.S. and Russia can't fight each other, so they have other people fight the war for them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Classic proxy war.
yeah, it's classic proxy war. We don't have a vested interest anymore.
Nope.
No, and it's just like it's shitty. It's really shitty, and I feel for those people. It's got to be really like it's
It is.
liberating. Yeah, sorry.
No, please.
Yeah, it's probably liberating, like on
Hmm.
on a first like the honeymoon phase. But
Yep.
like I don't know, dude. It's just scary. I can't imagine what they're going through right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the problem is like they're
Yeah.
kind of used to that reality. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. I was going to point out that it is, just with U.S. politics being a shit show, a massive shame that Syria is trying to sort of find its own footing now with Trump coming into office. Because, as we talked about like 8 years ago, one of the things that his administration did that was despicable was cutting off the U.S. military's support for the Kurds along the Turkish border. Basically, left them
Yeah,
out to dry completely, and they were decimated almost overnight by that loss of resources. So while the Assad regime is gone, this has also opened them up to being scalped by outside forces. I guarantee Turkey and Iraq on their north and eastern borders are going to be looking to, take whatever land that they can. There's lots of farmland between the border of Syria and Iraq. And we already have reports of Israeli military action happening along the Syrian border. Whether that pans out is going to remain to be seen, but Israel has been very happily rattling its sabers these last 18 months in the wake of the October 7th attacks on them, and they've clearly emphasized an interest in pushing out further as they go to Lebanon, right? Lots of activity in Lebanon, and it would not surprise me to see them push into the north. What is it the Golan Heights? Am I remembering this right? I may be remembering it wrong. But yeah, there's a lot of land there. There's a lot of resources to be had, and somebody's going to be wanting to take it.
Israel going to
As it
birth,
relates
dude.
to Russian power,
Yeah,
oh yeah, as it relates to Russian power, though, Syria was obviously a major ally of theirs, and with the Assad government gone, Russia no longer has any explicit allies with access to the Mediterranean Sea. Russia has the Black Sea, of course, through Crimea and Ukraine, but they have to travel past Greece and Turkey in order to actually utilize the ports that they have there. Without the access that they didn't really use, but had the potential to use in an international conflict that would have come up, that could have come up, uh, the Russian government's inability to stop the fall of the Syrian government, likely because of their resources being demanded in Ukraine, very clearly shows to me that they don't have the sophistication or the bandwidth to uh, try any sophisticated attack in any other foreign country, let alone the United States.
yeah. No, you're right. I agree with you entirely. That's why
Mm-hmm.
China is the one behind the drones.
Honestly, wouldn't surprise me. But because we already had this, right?
Yeah.
Like we did this earlier, and it was like,
So
yeah, it's China. Oh, who would have guessed?
they're collecting your personal data to give you more targeted ads.
Ooh, spooky. Yeah, I I don't know. I'll start being more skeptical like end of January. If we don't have more definitive answers, then I'll start to be more skeptical about like what's actually going on here. But reality sucks. It's boring.
Yeah.
I wish it was more interesting sometimes, but we have enough interesting shit going on already without having to have alien drones over fucking New Jersey. Can you
It
imagine
is.
if that was the reality? Aliens come to the US in the first place, the only place they want to go is New Jersey.
I wonder what they would do in New Jersey.
They probably hit the casinos.
Are there a lot of casinos in New Jersey?
There's at least one.
At least one.
Because there's like a big one.
What's the big one?
I'm pretty sure. I thought there was a big one. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up. Yeah, Atlantic City. Atlantic City is in New Jersey.
I
They have
don't
casinos.
know. Okay. I'll believe you. I don't know much about Atlantic City.
Yeah. Yeah. I only know it because whenever you hear about people in New York wanting to go gambling, they have to go down to New Jersey.
Oh, that's lame.
That's my understanding. Yeah. I mean, it's not glamorous. It's fucking New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
But that's my understanding, at least. I could be wrong.
Either way.
Would you like to jump into some other news? Quick, finish up our roundup here.
Please.
The president of South Korea tried to declare martial law.
Dude, we've
work.
missed so much on this. Oh my god. That feels
Yeah.
like a year ago.
It really does. That was 2 weeks ago. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol declared martial law. It was rejected by Parliament and reversed by Suk Yeol 6 hours later. This NPR article says his political future hangs in limbo. That's technically true, but he's gone. He's done. Zero chance he holds on to power after this. He's cooked. The Parliament voted unanimously to overturn his declaration of martial law. It was that kind of a thing.
Why'd he even... Okay, there's a meme. I apologize I didn't send this to you. But it was like the president... What's his name again?
Yoon Suk Yeol.
President Yoon Suk Yeol failed to roll the blunt correctly, asked to leave by Parliament.
Yeah. So yeah, here's a quick BBC article on it. He claims he declared martial law to protect the country's democracy. It was a legal decision to prevent the collapse of democracy and counter the opposition's parliamentary dictatorship. So he's bullshitting. His party lost, and he was trying to stop that.
He tried pulling a Donnie.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so it's worse than that, though, because this is like, what if Donald Trump did January 6th, but it was literally just Trump, and nobody else showed up?
Yeah.
Because the public response to this was immediate outcry, where the military was dispatched to the parliamentarian buildings and were, like, barricading it, and the overwhelming response from the people there was, what the hell are you doing? Go home.
Dude.
There's a good 4chan green text that came out of this, of like the perspective of just what would it look like if you were some random South Korean soldier. You get woken up at like 2 a.m. and told to go, defend the parliament building, and you do that, and all of a sudden you're being yelled at for being a fascist and a traitor. Yeah, the whole thing's wild.
Did you see that video of the guy kicking like the military dude?
I don't think so.
Oh, there's this really fucking funny video of like the South Korean guy who's like protesting martial law, and he kicks like this riot officer in the fucking face on his shield, and like the riot officer's like, it's like the first time he's ever been hit, so he's like just standing there, and he takes it and doesn't know what to do. And people were posting on American Twitter like, yo, if that was the U.S., that kid would be dead right now.
Yeah. We also had some presidential pardoning action happen. The big news was that Biden has officially pardoned Hunter Biden for the federal crimes he was charged with. I don't know how much you want to talk about this. I don't have a whole lot to say other than I think it is shitty of Biden to have gone back on his commitment that he made earlier to not do this. But on the other hand, I get it.
Like, what are we going to do about it at this point, Like,
yeah. The prosecution was already started in a place that was pretty clearly illegitimate, or not illegitimate, but like the political motivation that the Republicans claim so often is being wielded against them was in full force against Hunter Biden for a crime that is almost never charged, not on its own.
Yeah. In my opinion, Hunter Biden probably was never going to ever get in trouble for anything. I'm not convinced that he hasn't done anything shitty. I'm probably sure he did. But like, it was a political witch hunt.
Yeah, he was a drug user.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to defend the guy ever. Because, you know, my daddy's not president. I don't think but honestly, like, as a pragmatic way, I'm kind of glad my tax money's not being spent on Hunter Biden. Not, like, you know, a trial that we all know is just a political witch hunt.
If anything, this points out the very clear need for the president's powers to pardon to be curtailed in some way, to have some guardrails put on it. Because the other side of this, even though the conservatives were that, you know, you'll notice they got pretty quiet on it pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
Which is, you know, kind of obvious because Trump pardoned his it was his son-in-law's father, Kushner Sr., and has now said that he's going to appoint him to be the ambassador to France or something. So it's like, if you want nepotism is not a path that the Conservative Party wants to go down, because that is their bread and butter. Mm-hmm. It greases their wheels and will continue to for as long as they live.
Look at Bush Jr. and Sr. It's literally a nepotism party.
Yes. And they tried to do the same with Jeb.
Yeah. Jeb, please clap at Bush, the candidate with no Riz.
The anti-Rizzler.
That's what he is, though. Like,
he really is.
Are we so long
I do feel a little bit bad for Jeb.
Yeah.
I do feel a little bit bad for Jeb sometimes, because I guess part of it is just that modern standards have slid so far that Jeb looks like a reasonable politician at this point, and that says a lot. But at the same time, he's just a guy.
He has no Riz.
So
yeah.
But he does not have Riz. Yeah.
That's like his biggest crime.
Thankfully.
Sorry.
Yeah, thankfully, one of the main criticisms from the left of Biden pardoning his son was, okay, if we're going to do this, you better pardon some other people too, to make up for it, kind of, in a moral sense, karmatic way. Yeah. And he kind of lived up to that by commuting the sentences of 1,500 nonviolent criminal offenders towards the end of his administration here. And according to them, they say it's a single-day record. I believe that is for commuted sentences, not necessarily pardons. In the typical Biden administration way, they couldn't help but get a bit of a cell phone here. As far as I can tell, the actual list of commuted sentences, so that is people who were tried and found guilty and have served parts of their sentence already, and the president is saying that they're basically amending the sentence that the person was given, typically such that they no longer have to serve any penalty for their crime.
Okay.
These people were specifically, I believe, individuals both who were charged federally for felonies that were specific nonviolent offenders that were already out of jail serving like house arrest type situations.
Okay.
So like super low bar in terms of like risk. However, one of these people was let me see if I can actually pull it up real quick. Pretty infamous.
Oh no.
Where it was the judge who was involved in the Kids for Cash scandal.
No way.
Yeah. The judge who was tried in that scandal was one of the sentences commuted in the Biden administration's act, and that specific fact very much took attention away from the entirety of the rest of it, and understandably so. And we'll have to see if they're able to act to avert that. I would hope that they do, because it's obviously egregious. I would hope as well, though, that rather, and it won't, because of course it won't, but to me, this paints the very clear, the problem with this isn't that a nonviolent offender, this guy happens to be classified in the way that Biden's pardons made applicable. It was the fact that the guy was able to get off so easily in the first place. This was a judge who was out of jail as a home detainee on a nonviolent offense. Is kind of just fucked.
Oh, yeah. I think that there should be an increased penalty for judges who go into, like, law and they are fined, in these blue-collar crimes. Because I think that's just, like, you need to add an extra charge to them for that kind of shit.
I agree.
I think
I would like to see that standard apply to any public servant.
Oh, yeah. Public servants should deserve, what do you even call that kind of charge? Like a betrayal of the Commonwealth?
Yeah, like, I would be very interested in, like, if you have to swear an oath at some point.
Yeah.
In your becoming a public servant, I feel like that should carry additional, like, just violation of oath, and you get the maximum or whatever. I don't know how exactly it would work out, but I feel like you could set up a pretty easy bar to have cleared, if it wasn't that the people in Congress would also have to be held to that standard, and they would be the ones tried by it.
You just don't tell them that, just say, like, you just don't bring that fact up. I'm convinced, dude, like, right, if you just picked a day where Congress, like, I don't trust most Congress at this point anymore. I don't think they're actually very good at their jobs. I think if you pick the right day with the right people in the House, you could get, like, something like that passed, because they wouldn't know what it actually means.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have Mitch McConnell be like, what the fuck did you just say? What did you just do? Oh, yeah, Mitch had his big fall. Did you see that?
I did. We actually had two high-profile politicians badly injure themselves.
You love to see it.
McConnell was the earlier one, and I believe as a result of this, he has announced he's no longer running for re-election.
Really?
Yeah. He's bad in, like, a physical way at this point. Who was it? Why is it pulling up Feinstein? Yeah, Pelosi. Okay. Yeah. So McConnell had a really bad fall, and he's basically done. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually steps down before the end of his term, just because his health has deteriorated so quickly. He looks like shit, and he's a Senate Republican that is still in his elected position, and he started to come out talking against Trump. So he's at the end of his span. That's like the canary in the coal mine, is once the Republicans start, like, finding their morals again, they're out.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It's like their last brush with history, and they just want to make sure they're not seen as a total shitbag.
Yep.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to be the party leader after McConnell?
They technically, did they have one? I think they've announced one. Give me one sec.
Okay.
Republican Senate Madge Leader 2025. John Thune.
Whomst?
Exactly. So he is, like, the least bad option, from what I understand. He is relatively moderate as far as the modern Conservative Party goes, and amongst both parties in the Senate, he is an extremely well-liked individual. He does not seem to be a sycophant. He is not like MAGA or anything like that. He's just a dude, and he's there to do his job and represent his people. He's from South Dakota. He's got 4 more years in the Senate, and he's been there for 19 already. So,
I guess, yeah. It could be way worse. It could have been Mike Johnson.
super milquetoast. Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually kind of refreshing, if you ask me.
It is. And we'll have to see how it actually plays out once Trump goes into office, but it does signpost a bit the seeming intention of the party to maybe take their power back. Whether they're actually able to do that if they try it is going to be questionable, and I would not hold my breath.
I honestly think their goose is just kind of cooked at this point.
Yeah.
I think like the meme is just there. There would have to be like a cultural shift in America for them to kind of go back to that.
Yeah. Well, so I guess we'll see how the next 4 years go. Technically, Trump can't get reelected.
Have you seen those memes where Donnie's like kind of asking Congress to do that for him to like get rid of term limits?
Yeah. Like, haha, wouldn't it be fun?
Do you realize? Yeah, you know what they're
like
really
nobody
afraid
wants
of?
to actually do it though.
Well, yeah, because you know who's going to show up at the next election? Fucking Obama's going to come back immediately.
Oh, yeah. That would be very funny.
Dude, it would literally just be like Barack Obama just sitting at like the White House being like, just waiting for his turn.
Mm-hmm. The other congressional fall that we had this week, though, Nancy Pelosi, on a trip to Luxembourg, fell down some marble stairs and fucked up her hips. Major reporting that was coming out of this was that she broke her hip and had a hip replacement surgery while in Luxembourg. I saw some folks talking just in Reddit, some nursing types, saying how, in typical experience, once somebody has an injury as severe as this at her age, she's 84, it tends to be a signpost for the sort of beginning of the end.
Oh, no.
Once you break a bone, have a break that severe, the body just physically struggles to recover from that injury. So we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see how Nancy keeps on. But in the meantime, it sure hasn't slowed her down from being a piece of shit.
I was about to say, did she send out an email asking for fundraising?
Oh, no. Arguably, she did worse.
No.
Did you hear how AOC was snubbed to lead the House Oversight Committee?
No, please go on. This interests me.
Yeah, so there's I believe, I don't know this for sure. My understanding is that the current makeup of the House Oversight Committee is predominantly Democrat, even though the House as a whole is not. And that because of that, the committee is able to elect their head for a certain period term, right?
Yeah.
The House Oversight Committee was having their election, of which AOC is a member, and was the clear favorite to lead the Oversight Committee.
Well, it makes sense. She's a big name.
She is, and a position like head of the House Oversight Committee would very much fit into her branding and the social media presence that she already takes as a sort of, enforcer, saber rattler type, right?
Yeah.
In an 11th hour call from Luxembourg after her hip replacement surgery, Nancy Pelosi called the members of the House Oversight Committee and whipped them into voting to elect Jerry Connolly, a 74-year-old who fucking nobody has heard of, instead of AOC.
I've heard of Connolly, but I'm also the kind of person who, is brain rotted by this shit.
The response to this by media personalities that you should actually listen to has been justifiably overwhelmingly negative. This is a terrible decision, and I if anything good is to come out of this, I would hope that this is the straw to break the camel's back with AOC playing nice with the Democratic Party. She has, in her entire time as a member of the House, very much had the attitude of, wanting to play, like literally by the rules to get things done in the traditional sense. And at every opportunity, the Democratic Party has decided to stand in her way when she tries that. And I don't know. She needs to tell him to fuck off. To be frank,
There's like this
it's
just. Sorry.
it's gone on for too long.
Dude, I feel like now more than ever, there's just been this generational discontent with the two-party system. And I'm not talking about like in a sense of like
Yep.
Zoomers hate it, but more like just new politicians just can't keep functioning in this.
Yeah. People who actually want to have things done in Congress are being left out to dry.
Yeah, and I mean that's the inherent corruption of a two-party system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you go in it just to get people on your side, but at the same time, when you start mobilizing all these people, you don't have like any incentive to actually do anything because you're too busy doing nothing, like the inner politics of the party.
Last piece of the news roundup I have,
Yeah.
actually kind of current news as of yesterday. A government shutdown has officially been averted with a stopgap funding bill through is it March 1st? Into March. I don't know the exact date, but into March. This was a dumb thing. This shouldn't have had to be a question in the first place, but Congress was getting ready to pass its next funding bill in order to keep the government running through the new year. And Trump decided, in the way that he does, to go onto the internet and make a bunch of noise and threaten to shut down the government by telling people in the House to not vote for it.
Dude, I almost missed this shit. This feels so classic. It's making me a little nostalgic.
It is. It's peak.
It is.
Reading from... Yeah.
Sorry. It is literally same shit, just different day.
Yeah. From CNN's coverage, the House GOP leaders dropped a demand from Trump over a suspension of the debt limit, leaving Republicans scrambling to find a path forward and highlighting the limits of the president-elect's influence on Capitol Hill, despite his position as leader of the party. As a result of Trump's opposition, House Republicans tanked the bipartisan deal, infuriating Democrats. The GOP-led House then tried and failed on Thursday to pass a funding plan backed by Trump that would have included a two-year suspension on the debt limit, after the president-elect called on Republicans to take up the issue. Democrats balked at this plan, arguing that the GOP effort to suspend the debt limit would help Trump pass his tax plan. But it wasn't just Democrats who voted against the Trump-backed bill. A significant number of House Republicans joined with almost all Democrats to vote it down, kicking off a tumultuous 24 hours on Capitol Hill, where Congress appeared headed towards shutdown. In a move that ultimately broke the impasse, House Speaker Mike Johnson brought a stopgap funding bill to the floor on Friday that did not include the debt limit suspension. It passed by a vote of 366 to 34, and Biden signed it into law on Saturday.
Now that we're back in 2018, do you think Marvel movies are going to be good again?
I think that with the move of a certain director, we might have a different good movie in the superhero genre.
Man, it kind of breaks my heart that we're back to this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well. What's
That's
what
what I
we
have
got out of
for-
the last time? Oh, sorry, go on.
I was saying that, but that's all I have for news, though. So I would love to talk about soups if you're ready.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. Let's go back to the good shit people actually listen for.
We got the teaser trailer for Superman.
Yay!
It is good. It's very good.
I don't know, man. The first 2 seconds of that trailer had too much color, if you ask me. How am I supposed to take it seriously?
Even though that only has 2 colors.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe 3.
It was
Really
like
pushing the
white,
boundaries.
blue, and dark blue.
And if you waited long enough, you even got red.
You got a little bit of red. But I had to turn off. The red scared me.
So this is an excellent trailer. If nothing else, as a trailer, banger. 10 out of 10.
You know,
Builds the hype.
whoever edited this trailer knows Superman.
Absolutely agree. And we also see that James Gunn understands Superman as well.
Yes. If you were to take this trailer down to like its core messages,
Mm-hmm.
it's here's the character, here is what we're doing with him.
Yep.
Yeah. And I, for one, am very excited for this movie.
I am as well. I'm a bit anxious for it. My one concern with the trailer is that it seems like they're trying to do a lot, and I'm worried that they might be trying to do too much for one movie.
Can you go a little bit more in detail on that? Because I'm curious.
We obviously don't know the full details yet, but the idea that the main piece about it that helps with this a little bit is that I had to look up actually what one of the characters in a certain scene was, because there's a very well shot scene of what appears to be Superman like comforting a dying robot. Best I can put it. I had to look that up. That is apparently Kellex, which is Superman's robot like assistant. Raised him when he was on Krypton and sort of became his assistant after his Krypton went poof. Um, and that is apparently a very clear indicator of where this movie is set in the Superman timeline, where it's like very far into he is Superman. There's no introductions here. Justice League is a thing. The Fortress of Solitude is well established. We're into the Superman world very far, and that helps because it really looks like there's a lot. We obviously have lots of Lex going on here. We have monsters. We get looks at a little bit of the Justice League. And my immediate concern is just like, okay, are they doing one thing too many for fitting it into the runtime?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously know when it comes out, and I am confident in Gunn's talent. For the criticisms that I have had of some of his films, structure and pacing are things that he does very well. So I am sure that this will not be a problem, and that it's just looking like a lot because like there's this kaiju looking monster that they have show up. That's probably like a first 5 minutes. Here's Superman fighting a monster kind of thing, right?
Yes.
To give us some CGI fights to sort of warm everything up. And I if it is like that, I think it'll be good. And the scenes that we do have are great. Like the one scene of him with the robot. I should actually know the actor's name because we're probably going to be talking about him. Who plays Superman?
Oh, Henry Cavill.
David Cornsweet. Cornsweet? I don't know how to actually pronounce that last name. Cornsweet?
Yeah.
Cornsweet?
I know what you mean.
Something like that.
Yeah.
He is doing a great job in the role already. He has the look, but good acting just in the trailer that we see with his, communicating with his face. Very good.
His body language is how I would put it.
Absolutely.
I think Superman as a character is a character that lives a lot by his body language. So to be able to non-verbally convey the character through that alone is a very good sign, in my opinion.
Absolutely. That's a problem with the superhero genre in general, is that because they often have their faces obscured or their bodies obscured, they have to be very physical in their body language to communicate what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And having somebody who can do that, even though Superman obviously has his face uncovered, conveying who Superman is so much more than just actions, right? And words. And I think that Cavill does the looks like Superman thing very well, but often struggled with the deeper moral side of what it means to be Superman. And largely that stems from Snyder's problems with misunderstanding the character.
I think the thing with Superman is like, I don't think there's like any moral problems. I think the thing with Superman is you got to be absolutist with him.
Yeah.
You can't like present him in any gray lights. He's supposed to be just like, this is your
Mm-hmm.
buddy. This is the guy, you know, you want on your side at all times.
Yep.
He's, you know, he's a symbol more than anything. It's like, you know, it's like Batman. You know, that's like
Yep.
DC strength. Characters are
He is
very,
a
yeah,
so he's a hero to a fault.
yeah. And you, like, I can understand where you, as a like a writer, you would have like a fear of that because there's not much you can write into that if you're, you know, it's you enter a scene and you already have Superman figured out. That can seem a little uninteresting as a writer. In my opinion, that's where you get a lot of the charm of Superman, is that you
Yep.
know how he's going to react. It's just a matter of how he executes it.
Yes.
It's like
That was one thing with the Man of Steel that really failed, is that yes, you have Zod who wants to literally destroy everything, and Superman is going to fight him, and there's going to be fallout from that. But Snyder completely fails to show how Superman would try to stop that.
yeah.
And you can have so much creative fun with showing him saving people or foiling Zod or doing things or failing to do that and feeling horrible about that. And it fails at every moment to just show CGI fights.
No, I think Schneider's whole thing was he wanted scale. Because I think Schneider, I'm not going to pretend like I understand him a lot as a writer, but I definitely feel like he went for that classical superheroes are the extension of Greek myths approach.
To a degree, for sure.
Yeah. So his Man of Steel, I felt, was always about the scale and impact of such an entity as Superman would be. I think that's why you get like the Dragon Ball Z-esque fights.
I think he also had the Batman versus Superman thing as a concept in his head of, I want to do that. And he fell into the trap of having to work backwards from how do we get to the point where this isn't completely absurd? And he didn't know how to execute that in a way that made sense other than just being completely over the top.
You're right. Martha.
Like, how do we make Batman hate Superman? Well, Superman has to destroy, in air quotes, destroy Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, whatever.
I just feel Schneider's interpretations were very, in a way, he kept trying to make these very gray and dynamic versions of the characters. But in that sense, they also got very diluted into one-note versions of the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One other scene that I wanted to specifically point out, because it, in a single frame, shows how Gunn understands Superman at a level that Snyder doesn't, is where Superman shields a child with his body from debris from some explosion or something happening off screen.
Yeah.
It's just Superman slides in, shields the kid, stuff flies past, end of scene. And it's very small, it's subtle, but it gets it.
That's I want to bring that back to like the execution thing I was talking about. That's like a great example of like we know he's going to save the kid, but how does he save the kid? And it's just quick, it's merciful, it's literally putting himself at risk more than the kid, and that's where the execution works.
I love that part of it, because if you had Snyder's Superman, he could have just grabbed the kid and dashed off screen.
Yeah.
But the imagery of Superman physically putting his body in between the child and the danger is perfect.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, how do I put this? It's boring to just fly off the kid. Yep. It's more interesting and more character driven to just take glass to the face.
And like, sorry, I'm gonna like, this is a bad screenshot. Let me do that again.
Yeah.
The body language that the actor has in here is excellent too. The way that he has his legs shooting off to the one side from where he's coming in from the other side of the screen, where he's like literally screeching to a stop. Just, it's so dynamic. It's excellent.
It's good. Like, again, the body language here is
it's so
phenomenal.
Good.
Yeah.
The way that you can see, even though it's a still, you can see his movement, you can see his facial expression, how he has this extreme look of concern on his face. It's excellent.
It's very nurturing how he's holding the kid too.
Yes, extremely protective. The way he's cradling the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd feel cozy in this position.
Last piece that I wanted to bring up from the trailer, Nicholas Hoult with the shaved head as Lex Luthor. Excellent. I hadn't heard that he'd been cast for Lex, but it fucking works.
I have mixed appealing. I agree. Good casting. I'm a little sad we will never see Jesse Eisenberg's full realization for Lex Luthor.
Yeah. That's a bit of a bummer.
It's a missed opportunity because he's such a good actor.
Yeah. He is very good. I'm gonna call my shot here because the one clear scene we see of Lex has him with the revolver, we're 100% gonna see kryptonite bullets.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Now. Yeah. Because like they're probably gonna do the thing where like Superman's bulletproof.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna shoot him with a kryptonite bullet, and it's gonna be our oh shit moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, look at this handsome bastard. Nathan fucking Fillion. Let's go.
Oh my god. I saw him in that trailer and I knew you were freaking out.
I hope he is just the biggest fucking goof.
Dude, look at that expression. He is a goof.
He knows what's up.
Yeah. You know, I never realized actually. I want to go back to that image of Superman saving the kid. It feels very much like a comic book panel.
Yes. Yeah. I think that I don't know. We'll see how it goes because I think there's going to be probably scenes made with that sort of vision in mind. I got the same vibe from the one where someone's throwing like a soup can or something at the back of his head.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, this is framed like a comic book where you have like the surrounding thing with the central focus, and obviously a lot of that translates between mediums, but I would expect that, you know, you have the holding back to throw the can and then it cuts to the can hitting him in the back of the head rather than holding in the same shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this was Schneider's Superman, he would just have the can hit him in the same shot. To prove he doesn't give a fuck, because he's Superman.
No, he would probably have him Superman like block the can or something, because Superman is Jesus.
Oh yes, you're right. I'm very excited for the future of the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman was very good. The Superman looks very good. I think they are making great strides.
I hope with Gunn at the helm, they recognize, like, I like that they have, or I guess, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I don't want it to be a cinematic universe, right? I think that's a trap that the DC stuff fell into with trying to force a cinematic universe. And if that is just how it turns out, that's fine. But I don't want them to force it to be one. Like, just let the Batman be dark and moody and be its own thing. You don't have to have him do a thing with Superman at some point. Or you can do Batman and Superman, but have it be a different Batman.
Yeah.
They don't have to meet up sometime in 5 years.
I think the trap with cinematic universes, and I think this is where Marvel fell for their own trap, the expectation to have it all lead up to one story makes it ironically feel a little smaller. And I don't mind if they just do like a million small stories and they just happen to cross over at points.
Very much agree.
What else do we have on the agenda for movies? Can we make fun of Mufasa for a second?
I would love to make fun of Mufasa.
Imagine losing to fucking Sonic the Hedgehog. Not saying they don't deserve the success they're getting, because apparently it is a very good movie, but like, Disney, where are you at?
I am glad. I don't know. We'll see how much money this thing makes. I'm sure it's going to make. It's a movie that parents can take their kids to and stop looking at their kids for 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure just from that perspective, it's going to make more $1 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that like what did the other live action Lion King make or get rated as? I'm curious. About the same, 50s, and the critic or the uh, audience scores are about the same. I hope that at some point we can just be done with the shit.
I really wanted to lose to Sonic the Hedgehog, so I will see that as the nail in the coffin. And I think they kind of fucked themselves over by putting this up with Moana 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say just that. Like, in the same year that you have Moana 2 and Inside Out 2, to have Mufasa, the live action Lion King, come out, it has to comfortably beat both of those, or it's just a massive indictment on the live action Disney concept as a whole.
I really want to know what their fucking thought process was for that. Because, like, the original plan for Moana 2 was just a TV show. So, like, what's the point in releasing it in theaters if you're going to have Mufasa come out? You're getting... That's really fucking greedy.
So I'm curious now. I'm going to look up the box offices real quick for Inside Out 2, Moana 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine as well, because
Disney
stuff.
Disney.
I'm just curious where they all line up. Inside Out 2 is a clear winner right now. Moana 2 is not done as well as I would have expected.
Really? 'Cause I thought it did very well.
I mean, it's not bad by any means, but, you know, at Disney standards, it's less than $1 billion. Like, Inside Out 2 is at 1.7, Deadpool and Wolverine's at 1.3, and Moana's at 0.8 currently. It is the most recent release, though, so it might be able to make up some of that over time.
Fair.
Do they have the week-by-week breakdown here? I don't know if they do. Yeah. Yeah. Here's a good comparison. Yeah, so for opening weekend, it made close to Inside Out 2, but not quite as much. So reasonable chance that it makes up some of it, but it's probably going to fall a little bit short still. Do we have Mufasa box offices yet? First looks? Maybe.
I know that some of the fucking shit came in, and I know Sonic 3 doubled it.
Hell yes. Good.
Imagine. You
Good,
remember when we
sorry,
first...
good title at deadline. Hedgehog still has upper claw over Mufasa.
Damn! Imagine, if you will, right? When we first saw those original Ugly Sonic trailers back in, like, 2018, I think?
Mm-hmm.
That this shit would be going up against fucking Disney and primetime movie going season and winning.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Sonic going up against a Sony Spider-Man movie and a Disney film, and it's kicking both of their asses.
You love to see it.
I guess technically, who actually owns this thing? Is it its own thing? Universal. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk Wicked.
Shit, dude. Fucking Wicked is good.
It's really good.
It is probably like the second best movie musical I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. I think that's reasonable. I don't know. I think a lot of it is going to be just taste. It's a very specific story and style. And
yes.
If that doesn't, really resonate with you, it's just not gonna. But it has a ton to like in it still.
It is a charming ass film.
Yeah. It's shot so fucking well.
The lighting can be a little weird at times.
Yes. But in terms of like framing and just the placement of everything, I loved what they're able to do with their sets.
I agree. So we both saw Wicked during the break.
We did.
And Uh, I love the part where they said they're going to defy gravity, and they literally defied gravity. Who would have thought?
Innovation right there.
I also want to point this out right now. My girlfriend and I went to go see this at a local theater chain that wasn't Celebration.
Mm-hmm.
25 fucking minutes of ads.
Man, I am realizing so much more and more how lucky we are to have a relatively high density of Celebration cinemas in Michigan still.
Yeah.
Because, like, where else? Like, I was thinking about that actually when I went and saw Conclave the second time. Like, where else could I have gone to not just see it the first time, but then go back a week later and have it still be showing in that theater?
I will say, Celebration is very reliable in Michigan.
They give a shit about actually showing movies and not just making money, even though I'm sure they make obscene amounts of money.
Dude, okay, so I realize Celebration makes a lot of money off those Christian church movie trips.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, you can see a trailer for those every time you go there, but it's still better than 25 minutes of ads.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that fucking theater chain that we went to last night, you made an enemy out of me. I am now a Celebration boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not planning on going anywhere.
Something I wanted to mention, because I obviously, like, I knew I had heard this before, but it hadn't really clicked for me until I was pulling up the Rotten Tomatoes page for this, is that Ariana Grande as Glinda,
Yeah,
she does really good as acting, which makes sense given her,
pedigree.
Was she Nickelodeon?
Nickelodeon. She's like the
Yeah.
only good Nickelodeon star.
But
like,
she was a lot better than I expected.
I agree. I went in kind of scared about Ariana, but like, it's a role I know she was like always wanting to play.
Yep.
And you can tell she's been prepping her whole life for it.
Oh my god, it is so fucking perfect for her.
Yeah.
Like, to go from Nickelodeon to literal like Disney princess status, like, come on.
Yeah, seriously.
Can I tell you my biggest criticism of it?
Please.
I think Michelle Yeoh and Jeff Goldblum sucked. I was so disappointed in their performances.
Michelle Yeoh, I expected more from.
Mm-hmm.
I went into this movie not knowing Jeff Goldblum was going to be the wizard.
Okay.
So that was like a last minute surprise for me, and I kind of flipped the fuck out.
It's a fun reveal for sure. He just, I don't know. Don't give him a singing spot because he's not a good singer.
Full disclosure,
fine,
I didn't know he was singing.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
It was not good.
I was a little heartbroken by the fact that Michelle Yeoh didn't get a singing part, but maybe that's for the best.
Oh, she did.
She did?
Yeah, like when they first get to the college, she has a singing. It's brief, like more of just like it's like a minute long thing, but she does. It's not great either.
Never mind then.
If they hadn't had that, I would have thought much higher about her role in it, because it's just like, yeah, it's a musical. You don't have to have everybody singing in the musical. It's fine, but they clearly wanted to give both of them just like a little bit, and they shouldn't have, because it doesn't work.
Yeah. Jeff Goldblum, he's saying talk a little bit.
Yep. Michelle Yeoh's was similar.
Yeah. Another thing I found very troublesome with this, Popular.
Yep.
That was not that good.
Yeah.
Like, compared to everything else, which was just like a treat, Popular was just like one song where I was just like, man, I just want something else to play at the moment.
I would not call it like a good like song for like being catchy and playing it and everything, but the way that they did the nightclub scene was very cool. It worked exceptionally as a musical thing rather than as just being a song that's in a movie.
I agree. I thought the dance number was really well done between Ariana and Cynthia.
Yep.
Cynthia was the best part of this movie for me.
I agree. She's phenomenal.
The moment she started singing "The Wizard in Me,"
Yes.
that was when I was fully prepared, like just anticipating defying gravity for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Yeah, like I was not going to leave the theater until I heard that.
Yep. Yep. Her performance is mostly what I would go back for the part 2.
Yes,
Because I could really give a shit less about the story. It's very, serviceable, right? It's a musical. It's not going to be pushing huge boundaries because that's not what it's here to do. But her performance is second to none.
Yes. For a character that isn't that complex, she brought a real emotion to it.
Mm-hmm. She did.
Yeah. Even the performances just had a really good emotion to them. It was so good that this morning my girlfriend actually woke up and she was watching bootlegs of the actual theater performance of Wicked.
I won't be surprised if it gets further runs.
I would love it.
It's absolutely going to get another boost of popularity from it.
Oh, yeah. I would love it when the second part comes out. They just do double features in the theater.
Like, so long.
Give it a nice half an hour intermission. I think it would work.
You have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Alternatively, just watch it at home. Do it yourself.
Yeah. Fair.
I've been lucky to not have to encounter people at theaters being disrespectful, but I have absolutely heard that is on the rise. And I would worry that with just the way that current generations are and attention spans being non-existent, that if you give people an intermission that's more than like 5 minutes where they have to rush to actually do anything during it, they're going to come back and be on their phones and then not get off their phones.
Okay, I feel you on that.
You'd have to have the right environment. If it's at like an Alamo type environment, right, where people are paying extra to be there because they want to be there, I think you can make that work as an event. But as just a regular movie going thing, like you already had tons of people complaints from people seeing this movie and like singing along with it through the whole thing at just a regular theatrical release, and it's just like, I get you're excited, but come on, what is it that the Boeing guy says? Who do you think you are? I am. It's like, you ain't her. Sit down and be quiet, please. I'm trying to watch the fucking movie.
That's fair. In my opinion, this is fucking what's a really big movie event for, like, I guess this is Infinity War for theater kids.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. Infinity War or Endgame.
Yeah.
I guess this is Infinity War and we'll have Endgame soon.
It's Beyond the Spider-Verse for theater kids.
Yeah.
What else was there?
Other movies. September 5. It's one that I've seen highly reviewed that came out. I didn't hear about this ahead of time. Where's the blip for it? This sucks. Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to take this for a minute while I look this up to rant about Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes sucks. We should have about twice as many more movies to go through, but Rotten Tomatoes doesn't let you look past more than like a week and a half now. So I can't see movies that released before the 13th. So there's just like a week and a half of not being able to look up recent releases on Rotten Tomatoes. What the hell, guys? What are you doing?
Their jobs.
Apparently.
Rotten Tomatoes is just there to like advertise movies at this point.
No, pretty much.
There's like no.
But you'd think that they would, like, if you're like Wicked, right? I had to manually look up the page for Wicked. You think Universal, if they're actually like advertising, they'd give money to stay on that page, guaranteed. That's interesting. Wikipedia page is very scant on details for September 5.
Weird.
Doesn't have a synopsis page. Well, I guess we'll just go off of the one-liner. During the 1972 Munich Olympics, an American sports broadcasting crew finds itself thrust into covering the hostage crisis involving Israeli athletes. This is one that I've seen thrown around for nominations in some of the upcoming award shows. It's doing very well critically, 90% from critics, 83% for audiences. Yeah. Not much more to say on it past that.
It feels Oscar baity.
I don't know, maybe a bit. I think that I don't know if I'll ever actually see this, but I do think that some of the details in the reviews are kind of interesting. Susie Goldsberg, New Statesman, one of the top critics here listed at least, whatever the hell that means, says September 5 is a film so devoid of ethical complexity, it's almost fun to watch. They give it a negative review. Then another one from another reviewer, September 5 is so wrapped up in trying to be apolitical with this pivotal moment in media journalism history that it forgot to instill humanity or a moral compass.
Damn.
Another one from the Toronto Star. While the logistics of coverage are impressively and thrillingly managed, and the actors are good to, the actors are good to the last drop of sweat, the ethical problems that give September 5 its dramatic snap and contemporary relevance are harder to wrangle. Yeah. In other upcoming nominations, I accidentally just closed a tab. 1 second. The Brutalist. Have you heard about this one?
I don't know why, but I feel like I have, but I don't know anything I could like actually contribute.
This is the latest with Adrian Brody, Felicity Jones, and Guy Pearce.
Okay.
Kind of a banger cast list, and the reviews that I've heard for this are overwhelmingly positive. Escaping post-war Europe, visionary architect Laszlo Toth arrives in America to rebuild his life, his work, and his marriage to his wife Erzsébet after being forced apart during wartime by shifting borders and regimes. On his own in a strange new country, Laszlo settles in Pennsylvania, where the wealthy and prominent industrialist Harrison Lee von Buren recognizes his talent for building. And it details, I believe he makes... He's an architect, right? So he makes buildings.
The brutalist architect movement, right?
Right. I don't know the exact details of it, but apparently it details like his struggle between for working for hire basically as an artist in trying to be, the full extent of an artist and sacrificing everything to make his art while not being able to give everything because he's, literally working on a budget. And in part of that, coming to terms with the war that he escaped from and the work that he had before that war. Notable things about this film is that, like how you're saying how Wicked is like Infinity War for drama kids.
Yeah.
This one is like just complete juice for the film nerds. This was shot on 70 millimeter, the entire thing. It's 3.5 hours long and has a built-in intermission in its runtime.
Damn, dude.
So a lot of what has been talked about it is getting hyped up just on that angle, where the film nerd reviewers are very excited because this is like their movie, but it also seems like it's very good. It's an A24 film, and they are doing their A24 thing, right?
I do feel like A24 has gotten a lot of prestige lately.
Yeah. I was very glad that Civil War didn't bankrupt them. I was worried about that for a bit when it kind of hit with a wet thud. Any more you'd like to say on Sonic the Hedgehog 3?
Fuck, dude. I don't fucking know. I didn't see that shit.
I haven't either. One thing that I did think was interesting that I saw mentioned about it that I wouldn't be surprised if is a contributor to at least, a small but a noticeable portion of its success is that if you're a Jim Carrey fan, these are basically the only way you can see new Jim Carrey movies anymore. He's just not doing other work.
I do find it very impressive that this is a movie where he basically pulls a Nutty Professor.
Yeah. I think at some point in this next year, I'm probably going to get caught up on the Sonic movies because Jim Carrey is an exceptional talent, and it is very cool to see him still working and succeeding. And I'd like to see what he's been up to, if for nothing else.
I think,
and then also Keanu Reeves' shadow is so fucking absurd that I feel like there's some novelty to that.
I think for myself, I will probably be watching them soon when they all go on Paramount Plus.
Yes.
I feel like these are like a good Sunday streaming movie.
Yeah. I could 100% see myself running through all three of these like in a Zoids building day, just in the background.
Yeah, there you go.
That's like about 8 or 9 hours of just content to have on, you know?
Yeah, it's probably better content than like most video essays on YouTube at this point.
I don't know. There's some good ones out there still.
Okay, I want to talk about this, right? YouTube, yeah, dude, YouTube has gotten so shitty lately.
Yeah,
I am thoroughly sick of like YouTubers and their big like inflated sense of importance. No, I do not need a 7-hour video about how fucking no. Like, here, I'm gonna pull up like the first video essay I can find here.
I was actually just gonna check if how long it's been since H Bomber Guy's last video, and it has officially been more than a year now.
Okay, here's one for you, right?
Yep.
I don't need a 27 fucking video on why speedrunners gave up on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
That is fair.
I don't need a fucking video on Sonic 06 Just Bad Games that's only 3 hours and 9 minutes long.
Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah. Like, I don't need this shit.
My perspective on long form YouTube content is so not inexplicably. Oh, what the hell is the word? Anyway, it is deeply tied into like politics and that kind of aspect of it more than just like stuff. That I think mine is very, very different perspective on what it means to have like. If I'm watching a 3-hour video, what is it going to be about? It sure isn't going to be about speed running, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I agree with you on that.
So, yeah, from that perspective, I get where you're coming from.
And there's, like, another thing, like, I'm seeing a lot on YouTube. YouTubers who make a video out of their vacations to get those tax deduction dollars, fuck you.
Do you know the channel Loading Ready Run?
No, I do not.
They are a Canadian comedy troupe out of, I believe, I actually don't know. Doesn't matter. Point is, they do a whole bunch of variety content, including a short form piece that they call crap shots that are just like skits that are usually like less than a minute long. There's one of them that they have from a couple of years ago that they did where one of their main guy is like rummaging through their prop closet trying to find something, and his wife comes in and she's just like, "What are you doing? What are you looking for?" And he finally finds it and he calls it the one piece of his life that he hasn't monetized yet. And then it hard cuts to him doing a new podcast about that thing.
Oh my god.
And it's like, wow, that's really self-aware in a kind of depressing way. Are you okay, dude?
Let's see here. I'm just trying to find more examples of video essays I could live without.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. YouTube used to be a cool place. Now it's just boring.
It's changed.
Yeah.
I feel like YouTube, in the same way that it is with the state of like Twitter right now, is that you can still find good stuff, but you have to be willing to look for it. And
you're right.
I can appreciate why, because people don't obviously want to do that. That's not why they're on there, to look for stuff. But it is there. There is still good stuff. It's just not as easy to find, and there's so much bad stuff now that it gets drowned out.
Chiral, do
I
you
did
need...
see though
Sorry.
that YouTube is changing their policies in India specifically as it relates to clickbait, because apparently clickbait is really fucking bad on Indian YouTube, and we'll see how that goes. But hopefully they'll bring that over to everyone else and be a bit more aggressive about punishing that.
Do you need a 3-hour and 50-minute video on Peter Capaldi's run on Doctor Who and how it's the underrated peak?
Absolutely not.
4 hours of content, dude. That's more than that's like half a season of Doctor Who.
That's so crazy because, like, yeah, you could actually just watch like a season of Doctor Who instead and make your own opinion at that point.
That's a nice opinion you got there. Did a YouTuber give it to you? Have you ever seen the 9-hour Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire review?
No.
I watched it once, and I was admittedly a little younger back then.
Why? Okay, for me, if any YouTube video goes past an hour, it has to have a damn good reason to do so, or I'm going to go into it assuming that they're wasting my time.
Okay, Chiral, I hear you, right?
Yeah.
You know, very, very strong point you got there. I raise you an 11-hour analysis of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond.
Why?
Fuck you, that's why.
What even is there for them to talk? They better have fucking chapters.
I feel like you have to at that point.
There's not chapters.
Ooh, here's a fun one for you.
They have it in the description. So they just literally go to every single location in the whole game.
9 hours of not stopping until I pull every Brilliant Stars Pokemon card.
Oh, yeah, that's just brain rot, though.
That is brain rot. That is not
That's
like...
pure brain rot. How much do you want to bet? I'm curious. Okay, I'm going to actually check this. Does this get flagged as YouTube Kids?
It better.
Nope.
I feel... No?
Nope. Full comments.
Oh my god.
3.7 million years ago. It's probably because it was done as a stream originally. So
Fair. That
it gets
that makes
excluded.
sense. Yeah.
But even still, this is absolutely the kind of shit that would get served up to a child, and now they're just watching an adult basically gamble for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. That's what you're doing when you're opening trading card packs. You're gambling.
It's not gambling if you're guaranteed a single rare card at the end. You know who is one YouTuber I do respect the hell out of, though?
What's that?
Like journalist to journalist, CoffeeZilla.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know he was in the news recently.
I've been getting into his shit. I think because of how he was in the news recently. And, dude's just fucking thorough. I respect the fuck out of him.
Are they still in the middle of the Paul brothers thing?
I think he's done with that.
Okay.
He was in the news recently for the Hawk Tue scam.
That makes sense.
By the way, we didn't even talk about that scam. That's how much fucking shit's been going on lately.
Yeah.
Controversial opinion here, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are dumb enough to make an investment into blowjob coin, you deserve it. You fucking deserve it.
I tend to agree.
Yeah. Like, I know they preyed upon people, but I'm sorry. You gotta know there's grifters out there at this point.
Yep.
Like,
that falls firmly in the camp of individual responsibility. Like, yes, it's bad that it happened, but I'm not going to lose sleep over someone falling for an obvious scam.
Yeah, blowjob coin is not a fucking investment. You know, if you don't understand it, don't put your fucking money in it. That
Yep,
simple.
absolutely. Uh, two more movies to go through still.
Oh shit, we are going down rabbit holes
Chris,
today. Yeah.
Christmas. These aren't even rabbit holes. It's just catching up. We got stuff that I'm not even talking about yet because there's too much. uh, the Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, released an animated Lord of the Rings movie in the year of our Lord 2024. I don't remember how the involvement is, but the notable aspect of this is that Peter Jackson is involved in this in some capacity, which gave it some promise. But reviews are a bit mixed right now, I'll say. 46% from critics, 83% from audiences. I've heard from people who are very familiar with Lord of the Rings that it is, good Lord of the Rings stuff, if it is a bit mediocre in other regards.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. It's a pretty deep prequel, 180 years before the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So
Why is it they always do prequels for the Lord of the Rings?
because they have the Lord of the Rings Bible to
Okay,
make stories from.
fair enough. Tolkien put a lot of work into that. You might as well let his work go to, fruition.
I actually don't know that. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually does have future shit in it too.
Knowing Tolkien, he probably did.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
You could tell me that, and I would just be like, yeah, sure, I believe it.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight you.
I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
I don't have that time.
Legend says Tolkien's still writing it in his
I'm
grave.
not that kind of nerd. Go for it. Last film to go through, Craven the Hunter. Have you seen the tomato score for this one yet?
More like Craven a better score. Craven a better movie. What is the Rotten Tomato score?
You broke up there a bit for me, but I heard Craven a better score, so I think I got the gist of the bit.
My bad.
Do you have like a number that you want to guess?
5%.
Madam Web was
Alex.
at 11%.
Oh.
It has a 5 in it. It's 15. Technically,
Damn.
they improved. This is what does that work out to be? I'm gonna advertise the shit out of this one. The bar's low, but they cleared it.
What's it higher than?
Madam Web.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a low bar. I will say the audience score is significantly higher though, so it seems like as like a good movie, it is not, but it might be not so fundamentally flawed as to be unwatchable like Madam Web was.
Damn, bro. Who knew Venom would be their cash cow? Their cinematic opus.
I'm curious how these have all stacked up.
I'm under the impression in my head that I've seen nothing but shitty movies this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just talked about Wicked, which might be my film of the year at this point.
It is definitely feeling like that at times, but it's been kind of a banger year for movies. And that's largely what I want to talk about with our next one, because we're coming up on the end of the year, and we're going to be going through the Golden Globes nominations, and I think they're kind of unrepresentative of the year that we've had, because there's been like just there's been good stuff. There's stuff worth celebrating.
None of it I've seen.
Oh, Yeah, I guess so. That may be reasonable.
What I'm saying is I'm a fucking idiot.
Just watch better movies, stupid. What are you doing?
You know, honestly, my fucking love of pop culture is biting me in the ass lately.
Oh, we've had some backers this year. Oh, excuse me.
This just in while you're looking up those results.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Beast is attacking IGN for giving his Mr. Beast show a 2 out of 10.
Great.
Which I feel like we've been very quiet about the Mr. Beast controversies on here.
Yeah, it's mostly because I don't care.
Genuinely, it doesn't strike me as interesting, but it's very fun to see the mask fall off.
I guess so. Is this just like more of the same stuff that he was getting dragged for before, or is he getting dragged for new things?
It's new things. He made a show with Amazon and apparently it's shit.
Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed YouTubers can't make fucking actual, like, structured content?
Yeah. I believe that's all that I have.
Well then. I do want to unveil a last minute
Anything else
movie I
to
want
close
to
out?
contribute. Yes. Last night I didn't just see Wicked.
Give me one sec. I am losing you bad.
Okay.
Is that working now?
Can you hear me? Well then. 1 second, everybody.
Okay.
Kyril, I watched another movie last night.
Okay.
It is a movie I think will strike fear in the hearts of many.
Okay.
I watched it for the holidays. Because as we all know, it is Christmas coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
So to spread the cheer and jolliness, I watched a Christmas Karen.
Oh my god.
No, God help us everyone. That's the tagline.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Because I fucking hate myself and pain's the only way I feel.
What is this abomination?
It is a Christmas Carol, but around a fucking suburban Karen.
Oh, you can watch it for free on Peacock or Paramount, whichever.
You can watch it for fucking free on Tubi as well, because that's how I watched it. Fuck.
So how is it?
It's more watchable than I like to admit.
Yeah.
It's bad. But, again, it's surprisingly watchable. There's so many bonkers, batshit insane decisions with this movie. Heat vision is in the movie. Do you care to guess which character has heat vision?
Is it the dog? I only see two characters.
No, the ghost of Christmas Past.
Oh, of course.
In fact, I took notes on this, by the way. Let me get my notes real quick. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I should have had these ready, but I was foolish. Okay, here we go. This shit is so ass. That is my first note. Yet weirdly faithful to the book. Like they just rewrite the best lines from the Christmas Carol into shit Karen says. Like, I'm not donating money to the women's shelter. Better they run out of money and decrease the surplus codependent population. They gave the Ghost of Christmas Past heat vision. I'm stunned. I hope they do the fucked up shit with Ghost of Christmas Present with like the want and needs children. They do
Mm-hmm.
not.
Mm.
They gave Karen an origin story on why they hate gays and minorities. The dog's name is Dickens, by the way, in that poster.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
In case you weren't sure.
They're driving around Florida neighborhoods looking at cool Christmas lights in expensive neighborhoods I'm sure they didn't get the consent to film in. This movie is a weird combination of A Christmas Carol and Cool Cat Saves the Kids. The Ghost of Christmas Past president is driving a golf cart into the sky. They make a moral argument on whether it's right to steal Toys or Tots toys to give to a dying child. The Ghost of Christmas Future is a Hot Topic twink, by the way. They gave all the ghosts names. Past is Gary, present is Joy, and the future's name is Damon. Now you know the Christmas Karen lore. Her idea of a bad future is dying and losing her home to Puerto Ricans. There is one Taylor Swift mentioned in this movie. And Karen, I shit you not, praises white Jesus and white Jesus only. The film ends with the line, "Merry Christmas, everyone, even the Muslims. I see you." And then a guy in the background goes, "I'm Hindu, but have a good day of Christ anyway." Also, there's hentai in this movie.
Of course there is.
It's like a big end gag as well. Like this is not Note Corey speaking. This is just me remembering from the movie last night.
Yeah.
She gets a kid a skateboard. She gives the Tiny Tim analog a skateboard. And when they pull up the skateboard deck, it's hentai. Merry Christmas, everybody. And happy holidays to everybody else.
I have come up with a fun game for future Christmas movie watching.
Oh, no.
On Rotten Tomatoes, on their you can go to their movies tab and filter it for movies to stream at home. You can then flag that for the genre holiday and then sort by popcorn meter lowest.
No.
It's about what it's about what you'd expect. It's garbage.
Oh no, that's so sad.
So like we have a 0% movie from 2020 called Christmas on Wheels. It has 2 audience reviews. One gave it a 2 and one gave it a 3. I'm sorry, but who wrote this movie? Maybe because I'm a car guy, but they could have at least tried to get the facts straight. It's like it was thrown together last minute. It's exactly an hour and 30 minutes, just so you know.
This is so
sad. The tension was killing us. The whole movie was a sexual and romantic tension between 2 beautiful actors. The story was kind of set up to be a big happy ending with a kiss, but the actors don't kiss or make any kind of long-term romantic plans together. They don't even really admit they fell in love. The couple who get engaged are a side story that is scarcely on screen.
What a life.
Aspect ratio HD TV. That's
Nice.
funny.
That was good.
I do want to point out that on the Rotten Tomatoes page for the A Christmas Karen, in one of the audience reviews, where did it go? Oh, wait, no, sorry. This is a critic review from a review place I've literally never heard of. So maybe this is satire. I don't know. With a great performance from Sims in the title role and a sharp, funny script written by John Bonkowski, A Christmas Karen may be that Christmas tradition you go back to so that it can remind you what it's really all about.
You need to be drunk to enjoy this movie. There's no excuse. That's a fucking lie for that to be a tradition.
I'm curious what all else. Like, I'm gonna see if I recognize literally anything that this person has reviewed, because I don't yet. Like for the last now 2 years, everything they reviewed is like what even is this? Back to the Drive-In, 2023 documentary with barely any reviews. Lots of documentaries. Like, do you ever watch what I would call like a real movie to review it?
No.
You know, like an old movie that you watch for the first time that you're going to give a review?
No.
Wild. Yeah, I'm not going back any further in their history. I don't care anymore.
I love it. In that case, Carol, do you have anything else to contribute to the show before we go into a winter's night?
I think I'm good.
I'm the Smith Orion, and I'm full of Christmas cheer right now.
And I'm Cairo, and I'm also a Schmo.
And this has been the Two Schmo Show.